And now it's time for the latest exciting episode of Doz's Television Workshop.
Hello and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop, where today we're carrying on with our Quad 34 preamp. Don't panic, we're very much into the rolling it in glitter stage of the project. Last two episodes we've diagnosed countless faults and we've actually got the main preamp operating somewhere near as it should, and that involved quite a modification to the balance control, but I'm quite pleased with it. Right, last week at the end of the episode I did remove this CD input PCB from the rear of the preamp, and that's because I don't really see why we need two CD inputs. As you can see here, it's a very simple board. All we got is a couple of plugs, a plug here multi-way that connects to the amplifier itself, and two resistors. What I'd like is to implement a phono preamp so we can make it a little bit more useful. Now, I had a thought whereby I might just introduce one of my phono preamp PCBs. You'll have seen this before on the 1958 record player that I did for my father. That was last year, but was it the beginning of this year? Anyway, it was a while back, and it is just a little simple phono preamp, but it does perform very well. And then I got to looking at the board itself, and I'm thinking, why on earth is this PCB so very complicated? So I did a bit of internet searching, and if we step over to the computer. Right, so after scratching around on the internet for a while, I found this photograph of the moving coil phono stage, which is what we want really. This came from Canuck Audio Mart. It's not my picture. So there you go. I mean, if we needed one, we could just go out and buy one. But this layout, if you look at it, it's remarkably similar to our actual device. And if we dart back onto the schematic, we can see that this is the moving coil input. This is for moving magnet. You can see the input level is a lot lower, 100 microvolts, as opposed to our 3 millivolts here. And all we need to do is recreate this bit of the schematic here. So we've got, this is just one channel, so we'll have to do it all twice. But as you can see, we've got a little loading network there, 47K, 220 puff. We've got two quite straightforward transistors there. We'll pick some reasonably low noised ones. A couple of 82K resistors. And a couple of 1.5 mic coupling capacitors. Out, 910 ohms there, 220 ohms there. So I reckon we can just remake this. Let's have a go at it. Right, I have amassed some parts. Those are the screws that hold the two things there into the back of the preamp. We've got 4 transistors, 2 PNP, 2 NPN. We've got some resistors, and unbelievably, I did actually have 1.5 mic tantalums. Looked like they were tantalums on the original board. And we've got some 220 picofarad capacitors. So the first thing to do, I think, is to remove these two resistors from here. So let's get some desoldering braid and just do that quickly. Now, I have studied, I found another picture of the moving coil variety that we own, and there does appear to be a couple of differences to the board, but I don't think it's anything insurmountable. So I'm hoping we can overcome. Right, so I'm going to work my way from the start to the back. So I think the first thing I need to do, and this is where the difference is the loading stage. So I just want to be very careful here. So I want 2 lots of 47k resistors and our 220 picofarad capacitors. Now these are simply in parallel, but I think we're lacking the hole. I might be wrong. In fact, yeah, I am wrong. We do have the holes. That's good news. I don't have those nice polystyrene type of 220 picofarads. I've had a look, but I don't have any. So these will have to do at least to prove the point. If it sounds if it's, if the sound quality is good, then we shall leave them where they are. But yeah, right. So those want to live in that holes there. Reasonably well. One. And 247k resistors. And those are slightly difficult to get on the board because it is behind this wire here, which is connecting the phono plug, but we shall overcome. Right, let's just solder that lot up. We'll want some solder for that. I choose Kester. There, that's somewhere near the money, isn't it, really? Right, so from our input network, that then feeds the base of the transistor. Okay, so I'm going to leave the transistors to last because I think that's a sensible thing to do. So the next thing we can look at is actually the 220 ohm resistor, which goes between the output of that and ground, and that happens to be this part here. So let's get that looking something like. Might as well do the two at the same time, mightn't I? Looking something reasonable there. Then it starts to get a bit awkward. 910 ohms, which has got to go in between those two, I think. So this is this resistor here. Again, may as well form them both at the same time. Right, starting to look something like that picture now. So we've got we've got our 82k feed resistors now. So yeah, this is just sort of sorting out the power supply, I think. So I'm just looking really at the picture here, and yeah, we've got one in there going up like that. And we've got one going from left to right behind the connector. we've got one going up the left-hand side there. Now, I may choose not to fit that just for a second because we have got a transistor to go in there. Let's see if we can just see the holes down the side of it, or whether the body of the resistor is going to be a problem. Ah, we can still see that. That'll be absolutely fine. And then the fourth one is in exactly the same place over on this side. So let me just make sure they're all pointing in the same direction, because I'm fussy like that. That sits in like that. There we go. Right, let's solder those up. Right, well, that's all looking quite pleasant. Excellent. What else have we got? We've got our 4 capacitors to fit, but these are tantalum, so they're obviously polarized, and if we get them around the wrong way, the moon crashes into the sun. They go bang like little firecrackers. We wish to avoid that as much as possible. So I do need to have a little think about which end is going to be perhaps more positive than the other, and we'll work back on that. So I'll leave that till last. We'll come to our transistors next. Now, the schematic calls for a BC241 and an E2570. I've never heard of a E2570, so I am just going to go with some, what have we got? Picked these out last night. 2N3906 and 3904. So what I need to do is now work out where our base emitter and collector connections are, because I don't know which transistors are which on the picture, because I can't tell. So we're just going to have to do a little bit of reverse engineering here and work out what transistor goes where. Right. That looks to be an 06, which I think is our PNP. But we will just confirm. And I'm probably going to make some notes here and write it all down, because I don't want to mess this up. Right, put it on the DCA. We have got a PNP silicon transistor. Wonderful. So scroll. Red is our collector. So let's just draw this out. Look the other way. I'm going to punch my password in and get it wrong and have to do it again. There we are. Right. So I'm just going to make note of our transistor. So it is that way up, looking from the bottom. We've got 3 legs. That is our collector. Oh, I'm hoping the middle's base, because I think I've got a sneaking suspicion that's how that one will be. No. Yes, green is emitter. And that is our base. And that is our PNP. And it is a 2N3906. Lovely. Okay. 2N3904. And it's like that. And I have confirmed that with the DCA. So, yeah, there we go. Now, I need to ascertain. So, the channels are divided down the middle. Left and right. Or yeah, left and right. So, yeah, one of these will be PNP and one of these will be NPN. The bases are coupled together, so actually the circuit is pretty much symmetrical. So I suspect if we just stuffed one in one and one in the other, it would actually work. But of course the the emitters need to be pointing towards our 82k resistor. So that's our 82k resistor for this transistor. And just looking at this other side here, that's our 82k resistor. So yeah, you can just slot them in pretty much. So we want an emitter on our PNP there. So that is our emitter collector base for that one. Let me get that around the right way. Emitter towards the 82k resistor. Let me just check. Yes, it is. Right. So yeah, we just want to fold that leg back through there. So that's the collector of our NPN is going there at the moment, which connects to one end of our 910 ohm resistor. Well, they do anyway, via the coupling capacitor. So yeah, they both common up. So it's really not that fussy. I'll just check I've got a 3906. I have. That's good. So that is going to fit in that way round. Cool. Now the 3906. This time the emitter needs to be to the outside. So they go back to front. There's probably a world of people on the internet shouting at me now for using such noisy transistors. You're probably right. These are slightly better than sort of BC that I'd normally use. Still. If it works, it works. If we want to posh it up afterwards, we can do. As I said, we're very much in the rolling in glitter stage. There we are. Let's just solder those into position. We're nearly there. All we've got to do now is think about the polarity of our capacitors. Okay, well, we're nearly there, aren't we? All we've got to do now is put the polarity of our capacitors right. And just looking at it, we want the pointy end to go towards the 82k resistors. Of course, that's our power supply. So our positive end is marked on here, so they've got to go in that way around. Ah, one's positive and one's negative. Okay, so our 82Ks go to different points, and it doesn't say which point it goes to. In which case, I may have these transistors around the wrong way, PNP and NPN wise. I think the only way to solve that mystery is to actually plug it into the preamp and see what happens with the power supplies on the end pins of these transistors. Haven't thought that one through completely, but let's hope I've guessed right and we've got the NPN and the PNP business round the right way. I hadn't quite twigged that we had a bipolar power supply. So let's bring this in here. How am I going to do this? Let's take that round there. Then that can just slide out through the air hole. Plug it back in like that. Do you know what I might just do actually? I might just have another look at that photograph and see if I can see anything that identifies which transistor is which on the original board. I have actually managed to find another picture, and zooming in I can just make out that that transistor there is our NPN, I think. And I fitted a 3906 in there, which is our PNP. So I've got all the transistors round the wrong way. Great work. Right, let's take them out and swap them round then. Right, well that's put that right. So back to where I was. I just want to measure the voltage to where our capacitors are going to live, because one should have a positive voltage on it, the other one should have a negative voltage on it. Right, let's put a bit of mains on there. We haven't come on. Why have we not come on? Because I haven't got it plugged in. Okay. Nothing has gone bang, so that's nice. Okay. Right, I'm going to swap the probe so I don't make an error here. So these are where the capacitors live. So that one has got half a volt positive on it. That one has got half a volt negative on it. So let's just mark the negative sides up. Negative, negative, and you'll take it the same way this way around. That should be negative. That should be positive. Negative, so that one over there is positive. Lovely. Negative, negative. Okay, let's switch off. Quite surprised actually, we've only got half a volt on there, but still. Capacitors have stuck to my remarkable magnetic pen. Right, just need a set of seeing eyes so I can look at the capacitor and find out what the polarity is supposed to be. Stripe indicates positive. Fair enough. Right, well there we have it. Now I better go and get a gramophone, I suppose, and test it out. Right, well I've broken out a bit of a turntable. This is a Garrard 0100, the version with the subterranean strobe. It appeared on the website a little bit before I did YouTube, but it's got this bizarre pantographic arm that produces no tracking error, or little tracking error, which is quite nice really. I've got it hooked up to the quad, everything's wired up. All we need now is the workshop test record. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing the return of the dulcet tones of Sydney Devine. Right, let's get this beautifully pristine LP out of its cover. We want to switch the amp on. We want to click start. And there we go. We want to select disc on there. And wait till the Garrard does its thing. There we go. Oh, the dulcet tones of Sydney Devine. Right, well that's enough of that. Clearly that's working as designed. Let's just shut old Sydney up for a minute, shall we? Right, there is one mod I need to do, and that is the output of this preamp is very, very low. It's only in the region of about half a volt, which is not really enough to drive much. So we're going to take a little look and see what we can do to just increase the output. There is a recommended procedure for this, so let's do that. Right, so I've shared a picture on the screen. There it is, and as you can see, to increase the output level, change resistors as follows. Now, I don't think 1.6 volts is particularly a daft level to want to be at, so we want to short out R118 121 and change R119 and 122 to 33K. Right, R122 and 119, which need to go to 3.3K, are both there. So let's just get ourselves a bit of desoldering braid and remove those. Those are currently 220 ohms and we're going to 3.3K. So there we go. Find myself a nice pair of 3.3K resistors. And now we just need to short out R118 and R121, and all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a bit of tin copper wire underneath across each one, and that'll do me. Also makes it easier if anybody else ever wants to undo the modification. They haven't got to put that resistor back in. They'll have to do those 2, at least they haven't got to do 4. There we go, that'll do. So now we should have a lot more output gain, because 500 millivolts, even driving that little amplifier, we just have to wind the wick right up, and that really offends a mate of mine, Kevin Moore. Okay, we are back on. Let's see if that is any better. Oh yeah, we've got a lot more output now.
I got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. And I don't...
That's just enough of Sydney, isn't it, really? There we go. So I think we're almost at the end of our glitter rolling procedure. We've now got a phono stage that works. Our output level is much improved. So yeah, I think all now I've got to do is box it back up, give it a wipe over, and we're calling this one done. Well, there you have it. Finally finished and performing, yeah, quite nicely. It is, of course, a Quad 32 that's cosmetically challenged, but at least electrically it's working all right. Don't know what to say about the balance pot, really. It works and it's probably enough for most people, as long as you don't want to just switch one speaker on. But yeah, there you go. And at least we've saved it from landfill. There's a few scratches and marks on the top and on the front. It's actually not too bad from the front, but the top bit of it, maybe not so much. But there you go. So if you're in need of a slightly cosmetically challenged Quad 34, leave a comment down below, make me a silly offer, and let's get it out the way. Anyway, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you very soon here on Dozzy's Television Workshop. Cheers now. Bye.
With a gentle hand, he brings them back in line. Every twist and turn makes the magic shine. Cathodes and the crackle of the tubes amidst the dust. They play nostalgic tunes. Solder smoke and the faint aroma of time in each repair. An art that's so prime. getting closer. Neon signs, they guide you to the door. Tubes and screens like you've never seen before. Pulses hum, as sparks begin to fly. In this tiny shop, dreams are set too high. With a touch of love, your picture's clear and true. In Doz's hands, pixels flicker back to life and stand. Microchips and vintage heart in a world of screens playing their parts. Circuit boards with stories to untangle. Every wire a promise at an angle. With steady hands, as Darcy bends the light through the lens, creating onyx nights. Oscillators, creating sonic waves, bringing back the charm of retro days. Capacitors and resistors. In Darcy's touch, there's no misfire. Transistors dance to the rhythm of repair. Through the glow, feels like magic fills the air. Voltage pulses, the tune's melodic run. A symphony of sparks where the work is never done. In Darcy's shop. With steady hands.
Where the frick's the desoldering braid? Really? Right, that's about it for this wonderful episode of Doz's Television Workshop. Click like, subscribe. Let's do that again because I just spat everywhere.